I don't know what happened, but my video I posted first thing this morning to do with um, these top 10 lists broke my webcam's recording ability, apparently. Apparently even the webcam couldn't believe some of what I was reading. Uh, so we'll go through this again briefly, just highlighting that I don't agree with a lot of it. The top 10 players of all time, Gretzky being at the top, then Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux, Maurice Richard, Howie Morans, Phil Esposito, Red Kelly, Steve Yzerman, Jean Beliveau. I don't really have an issue with any of those. Really don't. Where my issue comes in, they have Patrick Waugh as the number 9 overall goaltender. They have Tony Esposito ahead of him, Dominic Hasek ahead of him, and Martin Brodeur at number 1, ahead of Glenn Hall and Terry Sawchuk. I wouldn't put Brodeur ahead of Waugh. I didn't put Brodeur ahead of Waugh. I didn't see Sawchuk, Bauer, and Hall play, so I don't have any issue with that. Or Plant. Is there an about the author? Because Andrew Podnieks, whatever the hell. It's a $3 book, so I'm not betting on an about the author. The author would like to thank several people for making this possible. First to Indigo Duo, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there's nothing in here about the author. Nothing. It doesn't get into who made the list. No. It doesn't get into who made the list. So I mean, Patrick Waugh, come on. Jeez. Top 10 scorers. Gretzky's on top, of course. Messier, Howe, Francis, Dion, Yager, Yzerman, Lemieux, Sakic, Esposito. No problem with any of that. Top 10 passers, Oates, Orr, Trottier, Gretzky. Why is Gretzky fourth? Gretzky should be first. I know he was first on other lists, but there's a reason he's number 1 in the assist total by a mile. Gretzky was the best passer I ever saw. I mean, his office was behind the other team's net. So how can he be the top scorer when his office was noticed behind the team's net? Most dangerous wraparound in hockey, too. They don't have a list for that, but Gretzky, Thornton, Stastny, Mikita, Mario Lemieux, Crosby, and Henrik Sedin. Bure doesn't appear anywhere in here. Top 10 defensive defensemen. Bobby Orr, Eddie Shore, Scott Stevens, Tim Horton, Red Kelly's after Jacques Laperriere, Larry Robinson, Doug Harvey, Nick Lidstrom, Pierre Pilote. No Rod Langway. That's odd, because Rod Langway was the best defensive defenseman I ever saw. Offensively, no, but defensively, yes. In fact, Langway's the argument in favor of a Langway trophy. So that you give up the idea of just having one defenseman recognized every year, and you have an offensive defenseman recognized, Erik Karlsson, and a defensive defenseman recognized, Jack Johnson. I'm just kidding. Top 10 offensive defensemen, Bobby Orr, Ray Bourque, Paul Coffey, Al MacInnis, Phil Housley, Nick Lidstrom, Denny Potvin, Brian Leetch, Larry Robinson, Scott Niedermayer. I have an issue with Ray Bourque being number 2 on the offensive defenseman and not even in the top 10 for a defensive, because Ray Bourque did everything in Boston. Everything. He wasn't just an offensive defenseman. Paul Coffey was. I'd put Coffey ahead of Bourque in terms of being an offensive defenseman, and Bourque on the top 10 list of defensive defensemen. At least I don't have Coffey on defensive defenseman. No Kevin Lowe, though. Lowe was a really good defensive defenseman. Top 10 retired players who never won a Stanley Cup. Marcel Dion, Gilbert Perreault, Norm Allman, Jean Rattel, Brad Park, Mike Gartner, Peter Stastny, Daryl Sittler, Dale Hawerchuk, Eric Lindros. No mention of Matt Sundin in there, which is interesting. I'll get into this after. That's Europeans. That's captains. Those are defensive forwards. No mention of Dave Tippett in defensive forwards either. Undrafted players, which is just a baffling thrown together list. Hat Trick Heroes. Top 10 one-timers. The Brett Hull Award. Seriously, it's Brett Hull Award. Top 10 clutch scorers. Matt Sundin's number 1. And he's not on top 10 players who never won a Stanley Cup. But he's the number 1 clutch scorer in the history of the NHL. Matt Sundin. Joe Sakic's number 2. Then Henderson, Hill, Crosby, Anderson, Esposito, Bossy, Richard, Messier. That's right, Gretzky's not on this list. Neither's Mario. Mario scored some clutch goals along the way. I wouldn't mind Luc Robitaille on this list, because Robitaille scored some clutch goals. But Sundin, and yet he's not on the top 10 retired players who never won a Stanley Cup. Eric Lindros is. I'm bewildered. Absolutely bewildered. And the top 10 Calder Trophy busts, the one that stands out to me, number 8 is Barrett Jackman. Barrett Jackman was never an offensive defenseman. You can't call him a bust just because the guys who finished runner-up to him had better careers. That's not a Calder bust. That might be a Calder oops, but it's not a bust. The top 10 toughest players, Gordie Howe, no argument there. Number 3 is Keith Magnuson. I don't think anybody would argue that. Nobody. Eddie Shore. Geez, they even tell you what day they died. I didn't notice that the first couple times through. That's grim. Tiger Williams is number 9 on the toughest players. John Ferguson's in there. No mention of Eddie Shack, though. Yeah, that's weird. Top 10 Europeans. Yager's first, Ovechkin second, ahead of Forsberg, Sundin, Curry, Hasek, Salming, Lidstrom, Solani, and Alfredson. Salming ahead of Lidstrom's weird, because Salming didn't own the Norris Trophy the way that Lidstrom did. And Curry being behind Ovechkin is weird, because Curry, man, he was frigging deadly. You don't have Gretzky scoring 200 points a year in the 80s without Curry on his wing. Curry was really a deadly scorer. Great one-timer. They don't really mention that. And then top 10 captains, which again is just also subjective. And top defensive forwards. Gainey, Carbonneau, no problem there. Fedorov. Early on, yes. Later in his career, no. Yzerman's 4th, then Datsuk, Doug Jarvis, Doug Gilmore, because you had to have 2 Dougs in a row. Dave Keon, Chris Draper, and then Jonathan Taves at 10th. And advanced stats people will tell you that Taves is overrated as a defensive forward. So the idea of him being number 10 all time, that's going to upset some people. Undrafted players is weird because they have Pascal Dupuis at number 1, ahead of Cicerelli, Belfour, Kerr, Mullen, Oates, St. Louis, Thomas, Poulin, and then Rafalski. I mean, I like Pascal Dupuis as much as the next guy, but why would he be the number 1 undrafted player ahead of Dino Cicerelli or Ed Belfour? It's literally, this book is just random top 10s. And you could say, well, it's probably written for kids. Well, then why have all these guys from the 40s and 50s in it? But clutch scorers, man. Sundin ahead of Sakic, Henderson, Hill, Crosby, Anderson, Esposito, Bossy, Richard, and Messier. If it's a Game 7 and every player's in their prime, out of that list, I'm picking Mike Bossy. If I need a goal in overtime in a Game 7, I'm picking Bossy. And I want Trottier passing him that puck. Because they were unreal. And then it's NHL players at the Olympics. The best thing with this book really is just it's got pictures for everybody, and it's interesting to see how they take basically the same list of 10 players for the most part. Yeah, Phil Kessel is one of the top 10 one-timers. He's number 10. Can't argue that based on what I saw in the playoffs this year. The other thing I wanted to discuss is I did order myself a jersey yesterday through eBay. It's not new, but it's tough to find one I want now. So I've ordered the Dallas Stars Mooterus, as it's called, the one with the Taurus head on the front. which resembles a woman's uterus when you see the stars all put together. It doesn't have the Dallas Stars logo on it. It has a star on the sleeve. I looked over all the pictures on eBay, and A, it looks legit. B, it's my size, and C, the crest is in good shape. I looked to make sure on the close-up pictures that there's no signs of the crest coming off or on the sleeve. Um, I'm actually pretty psyched about it because I never saw it in a store. Dallas Star stuff is so hard to find around here, and so it's good to have that. The other one I was looking at and I just couldn't commit to buying was the Ugly Islanders third from last year. The reason being, in terms of jersey buying, there's new ones coming out. There's a new Florida one, which I'll probably get. I'll probably get the new Florida one. And the Leafs new one, which I'm going to get. And then I ordered a couple of hats off lids. I've got a new two in this style. This is a false color style apparently that they go with. So they take a logo or a secondary logo and they change up the colors. I've got one coming for the Senators and for the Panthers. Hats for both. Because I've got a Senators hat back there, but it's a cat hair attractor. I can wash it and use brush on it, get all the cat hair off. I put it down, pick it up 5 minutes later, and it's just white with cat hair. So it's not made of felt or velvet or anything. I don't understand how it's a cat hair magnet, but I can't wear it because there's no point in wearing it. So I'm pretty excited about those. And then I ordered 3 boxes of Upper Deck from 91, 92. I found a fantastic deal out of Texas. And when I saw it was Katy, Texas, where it was coming from, I'm like, I have to order from Katy. So that's what I did. And I'm pretty stoked about the purchase because it was $5 a box. So, I mean, it's $5 a box plus shipping and handling, but still it's $5 a box. I've had a one listing I was looking at on eBay for months that was the same product, but it was $14.95 a box plus shipping and handling. I kept thinking, man, I don't know if I want to pay $60 with shipping for 3 boxes of that year. Because the only thing in less demand than 90-91 Upper Deck is 91-92 Upper Deck. But 3 boxes, $5 each. The only drawback is because they're both coming from the U.S. The expectation of when they're going to arrive is quite a while from now. So I will have delayed satisfaction with those. The other jersey that I've been looking at and hemming and hawing on is Lids right now has Calgary's third jersey, the one with Calgary in script with the little C over top, for $70. But the only sizes they have are large and double extra large. A large jersey I can wear, but I'm not comfortable in because the neckline gets too low and the sleeves just hang off my hands. I feel like a 6-year-old wearing dad's shirt. Like it's not cool. But it's only $70 and it's regular 140, so it's hard not to pick it up. The other one I've been looking at is they've got the Oilers shirt of Taylor Hall, the third jersey on sale for half price. When Taylor Hall makes it in New Jersey, that would be an amazing jersey to wear for so many reasons. It is the orange Oilers jersey, which I love. I think that's a really sharp jersey. And it's got Hall on it. So it would make Oilers fans cry. So on the one hand, they'd say, hey, he's one of us. And then I turn my back and they go, oh, God. Oh, why, Taylor, why? So it's got a dual benefit there. There's a dual benefit. I was wearing my Minnesota North Stars jersey. And a guy asked me the story. He said, do you have a name on the back of it? And I said, no. He said, oh, I was hoping for Cicerelli or Broughton or something. I said, no. He said, well, because it dates it. I said, well, yeah. And I just don't feel the need to have a number on the back of my jerseys. The only ones that I have with numbers on the back are Montreal and Tampa, and I ordered them that way. And they were really cheap that way. One has St. Louis on the back and the other one has Giunta. So they have to be players about my height for me to say, yeah, all right, I can wear that. Maybe that's why I didn't order the Taylor Hall, because I'm not exactly Taylor Hall's height or weight or stature or any of it. Giunta at least was small and a flop in Montreal, and St. Louis had a great career, but short. So I can wear it because I'm short. Anyways, so those are my purchases that are on the way. I'm really excited about the new hats. It's weird. It's just, I saw them, they were up for half price, and I'm like, oh God, because the Florida Panther, the Panther's all blue with like orange or yellow highlights. hard to tell from the picture. And then the Senators one is just this really crisp. It's basically almost the same colors as this. And then underneath on each cap, it's got Senators, it's got Panthers, and then they have one for Coyotes too. But I was like, I don't think I'd wear the Coyotes very much, so I didn't get it. But I did find a Phoenix Coyotes, the original one with the Aztec type design in black. I have it in white. I don't have it in black. It's tempting. But again, I'm waiting for new ones to come out in the fall. So I'm not looking as far back. I'm thinking more along the lines of, okay, what's coming? What's on the way? But that's my point of view on things for today. And I'm going to end things here. That'll probably be it for me for today. And I'll probably just throw on the PS4 and either play some games or watch Force Awakens again, because it's on Netflix now in Canada. Only in Canada, apparently. How can it be on the US Netflix, just in Canada? So that's a first. Canadian Netflix is a wasteland compared to American, and before anybody posts it, I know you can use proxies to get around it, but it's a pain in the ass and I'm not doing it. I'm not paying for proxies. I'm not going through the process of setting up something to get an American Netflix that either A, could get my account tossed by them, or could potentially compromise my computer. And then I usually watch Netflix on the PS4 anyways, so it's a pain it's horrible. It's a horrible setup, so I'm not going to bother. But anyways, I will get into 3 more teams tomorrow, and I'm getting really tempted to just go ahead and say, here's how I think the playoffs are going to settle out next year, and just let the chips fall where they may. Just let people argue. But if a book can write that the number 1 clutch scorer in NHL history is Matt Sundin, you guys can't complain anymore. You can't, because that's crazy. And I loved Sundin when he was in Vancouver. He did so much for Ryan Kessler's game. Kessler became a much better forward after Sundin was here. So while people were too busy laughing at Mike Gillis for signing a ridiculous contract for Sundin, Sundin did a lot of good in Vancouver. He was a class act all the way, and I had no problem with him being here. And I wouldn't have minded him coming back for another season if he'd wanted to do so. So that's my opinion, and I wouldn't put him as a number 1 clutch scorer. I just couldn't do it. Just can't. I just can't. I wish I could, but I can't. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.